Princess Lyrielle of the Vaelari Dominion had been raised to believe that humans were fragile creatures, short-lived, emotionally volatile, technologically crude, and physically unimpressive. Nothing about them seemed threatening next to the elegant longevity of the Vaelari, a species whose smallest military detachment could vaporize a starship with a thought-guided lance. But the Dominion was losing a war, and the only ones offering help were humans. Lyrielle still remembered the council chamber on that fateful day, the polished silver floors, the crystalline arches humming with psionic wards, the faces of the High Regents twisted by anxiety. Their enemies, the Korthan swarm, had devoured 3 frontier systems in as many months. Their bioengineered armies advanced like locusts, unstoppable, endless. When the humans of the Terran Accord proposed an alliance, the deal came with a strange, ancient Terran tradition attached. To seal the pact, a symbolic marriage between their champions. It had been a gesture meant to build trust, a relic from their early diplomatic history. The Dominion accepted, and Lyrielle, the last unmarried royal, was chosen. Her husband would be Commander Aaron Holt, a Terran Marine officer whose service record consisted of battlefield rescue missions, humanitarian deployments, and a few classified footnotes. He was not a telepath, not a mage, not genetically engineered. Just human. Lyrielle had expected disappointment. She had not expected Aaron. Their first meeting, aboard the Joint Fleet flagship, had unraveled every misconception she held. He stood taller than most Vaelari males, skin bronzed by alien suns, posture disciplined yet relaxed. His hazel eyes studied her without fear or awe, only sincerity, curiosity, and the quiet confidence of someone who had seen hell and walked back out of it. "Princess Lyrielle," he said, bowing in the Terran way. "I hope this alliance saves both our peoples." She had nodded, but something inside her had shifted, unsettled. The ceremony, conducted under the blended rites of Terran and Vaelari custom, bound them politically, not romantically. They were partners, symbols, nothing more. At least, that was what she had believed. For weeks after, they worked together on the Joint Strategic Council, coordinating defense lines, integrating fleets, deciphering Korthan behavior patterns. Lyrielle was brilliant but aloof, trained in diplomacy and telepathy. Aaron was direct, pragmatic, endlessly resourceful. What he lacked in psionic ability, he compensated for with tactical audacity and a maddening habit of volunteering for frontline missions. Humans were reckless, she thought. Yet their recklessness won battles. Gradually, she began to understand why their species had survived so many existential near-extinction events. Humanity fought like cornered beasts, unyielding, inventive, utterly unwilling to submit. But she learned something else about Aaron. He was kind, disarmingly so. He treated her not as a goddess or a symbol, but as a person. He teased her gently, shared Terran food rations with her during late meetings, told stories of Earth, rainstorms, mountain scents, childhood mischief. He listened when she confided her fears for her people. He respected her power, but was never intimidated by it. She found herself waiting for his footsteps outside her chamber. She found herself wanting him near. The alliance strengthened. The Korthan advance slowed. For a fragile moment, hope bloomed. Then came Varkos Prime. The forward stronghold was the Dominion's last defensive anchor before the core worlds, a crystalline fortress embedded within a drifting asteroid cluster. Intelligence reported a moderate Korthan strike force inbound. Aaron volunteered to oversee the joint defensive operation, and Lyrielle accompanied him as representative of the regents. They arrived to a nightmare. The enemy fleet wasn't moderate. It was colossal, hundreds of hive ships blotting out the stars, living dreadnoughts pulsing with bioplasma. The Korthan wanted Varkos Prime erased. If it fell, the Dominion would lose the war. Chaos erupted instantly. Vaelari psionic lances carved through the swarm, but were overwhelmed. Human rail batteries fired until their barrels melted. The void burned with wreckage. In the command nexus, Aaron assessed the impossible numbers with clenched jaw and unnerving calm. "We can't hold the station," he said, "but we can buy enough time to evacuate the Dominion civilians and key personnel." Lyrielle shook her head. "You would sacrifice yourselves? All of you. If we run now, they'll chase us straight to your homeworld. This is the bottleneck. We hold here, or millions die." "You cannot win," she whispered. "Winning isn't the goal." He stepped forward, touching her arm gently. "Surviving long enough is." She hated the logic. She hated how calm he sounded. She hated the cold fear blooming in her chest. Not for her people. Not for the Dominion. For him. "Aaron, you must flee with us." "No," he said softly. "I made a vow. I don't abandon allies. And I don't abandon you." Her breath caught. He didn't mean it in the political sense. She could feel the sincerity radiating from him like heat. But fate had little interest in romance. The Corthan breached the outer hull. Biomonstrosities poured into the station. Joint squads fought room to room. Lyrielle unleashed psionic storms, incinerating creatures with pure thought, pushing her powers to the edge of sanity. Yet the wave did not stop. When the command nexus shook under the impact of a living battering ram, Aaron made a decision. "Lyrielle, fall back to the shuttle bay. The evac ships need a telepathic shield. Only you can do that." "What about you?" "I'll stay and divert the swarm. Someone has to keep them off your escape route." "I forbid it," she cried. "You are my partner. Your husband," he said with a faint, sad smile. "At least in name. Let me make it mean something." Before she could respond, Corthan drones smashed through the side wall. Aaron shoved her behind a collapsed bulkhead and fired a stream of plasma bolts that tore through chitin and bone. "Go," he shouted. Torn apart by duty and terror, Lyrielle retreated, her steps stumbling, her heart screaming. Aaron Holt had survived firefights, orbital collapses, and boarding actions, but nothing compared to holding a broken fortress hallway against an unending tide of bioengineered nightmares. He fought with Terran brutality, grenades, combat knives, power armor actuators smashing skulls with hydraulic force. But the Corthan swarm pushed harder. He was slammed into a wall. A talon pierced his shoulder. Armor alarms wailed. He kept moving. He had promised her. Yet he knew the truth. He would die here. Not heroically. Not gloriously. Just overwhelmed by numbers. Then his calm crackled. "Aaron." Lyrielle's voice trembled with panic, power, and something deeper. "The Corthan are adapting. They're turning toward the evac corridor. I cannot shield everyone at once." His chest clenched. She needed him. His people needed him. The Dominion needed him. But what could he possibly do? He looked around desperately, at the shattered psionic conduits, ruptured power lines, the glowing crystal core that fed the station's energy grid. Vaelari technology.